The reading today from Living Wisely, Living Well for May 15th. Excuse me. Make inner freedom your primary goal in life. See every binding desire or attachment as a rope tying your balloon of consciousness to the ground. Sever those ropes and exclaim vigorously with each slash, "You can hold me no longer. My place is high in the sky, soaring over seas and continents on breezes of pure bliss." I think I'm going to refer to this a little bit. I'm going to keep it open here. It's so important to consider this teaching, which is, on one hand, well known on the spiritual path, this teaching of non-attachment. And at the same time, non-attachment is not always forthcoming, not always easy to understand to the worldly consciousness, which is to say also the worldly consciousness in us. We can talk about, all those worldly people who don't understand. Who cares whether they understand or not? If they don't understand and they're interested, maybe we can try to help them in the way that we were helped. And you help people the most by your smile, by your presence, by your energy, not necessarily by beating them over the head. I had a friend who was once asked, "What do you think is brahmacharya?" And then before my friend could even complete inhaling to give the first word, the asker answered the question for the next, I think, hour and a half or something like that. And so what was interesting was my friend stayed patient throughout while a friend of his was also watching this whole thing. And his friend kept getting more and more agitated, or so the story goes. And then at the end said, "Well, you impressed me by your ability to stay calm in the face of that, not even tirade, but deluge." It was basically like another flood and of words. And so it's important then to think about if we're going to be non-attached, which is to say we must be attached on one level if we have to become non-attached, then to release those attachments, we can always ask, what do I get out of the bargain? Why should I? What is the purpose? What are the benefits? It's good to ask these things as opposed to just, it's spiritual, so I will do it. That is unthinking compliance. And if you ever wonder, yes, but it's God's law and we should just follow God's law, it's our duty. Okay, fine. If that thought inspires you, if it brings you joy, how do you know if it brings you joy? Look in the mirror. And if you say it's God's law, it's my duty, then it's not bringing you joy. There should be joy. As Master's Guru Sri Yukteswarji said, finding God is the funeral of all sorrows. He encouraged people not to be sad. He said to seek the divine, one need not disfigure his face, his own face, just very morose and serious. And Swamiji spoke of a disciple who came to Mount Washington, and I don't know if this was during Master's lifetime or not, but she would walk around in white and she would carry beads, and whenever anyone would laugh, she would look at them sternly or look away, scandalized. And Swamiji said she didn't last a week. He said all the laughter got her down. And so Master had this experience too. He would visit the levitating saints ashram when he was a boy. This is described in Autobiography of a Yogi. He said the saint tolerated his laughter, but his disciples looked daggers. They would, stare at him because they wanted it to be very serious. In fact, the saint said to him, I don't mind it, but these people are upset by all your uproarious laughter at the saint's jokes. I mean, why make jokes if you don't want people to laugh? It sort of defeats the purpose. In fact, Master told his disciples, you should make jokes. People like to laugh. Someone asked Swamiji, I was surprised to find you so humorous, when they met him for the first time. And Swamiji could have said, well, laughter is a tonic for the soul, or, that this and that. He just said Master was. Just that simple. Master was that way, so I am that way. It's a good thought for all of us to follow. But Master did say openly, people like to laugh. But Swamiji noted that when Master would tell a joke, he would then also follow it with a very deep teaching. It was almost as if in that laughter it opened people up, and then they could receive the thing he was trying to get through. And non-attachment sometimes is a teaching like that, okay, if I have to. But again, why is it okay to ask, what do I get out of the bargain? I'm sorry for people on the broadcast here. I've been staring at everybody here and having such a good time, but you've been saying, what about me? Sorry. And your hair looks nice that way. No, I'm kidding. I can't see you. Remember when Sri Yukteswar received Master back at his home, at his home for the first time, not the day of their meeting, but after a month, and Master came and he said, I will follow your advice or your command in every detail of my life as a disciple, taking discipleship. And he said, on one condition. You see? He was writing something into the contract. What did he want out of it? He said that you promise to reveal God to me. And so even Master, in taking discipleship, asked his guru, on one condition. And he said, I sensed that my guru knew God and was determined as his disciple to press my advantage. He had a very funny way of putting things, partly because he was also an avatar, already united to God. But what good would that have done us if he told the story from that perspective? Autobiography of a Yogi would have been one word long, God. That's it, very easy to read, but useless to us. We can say, yes, 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 and? How did you get there? And so, Master, even in one of his talks, said that when Sri Yukteswar offered to heal him by divine power, if you don't remember in the autobiography of a yogi, Master was stared at by Sri Yukteswar, and Sri Yukteswar Ji said, you are too thin, Mukunda. And Master said his words stung a soft spot. He was very thin and emaciated. He had all these tonics and cures. And then he told his Master about this, and Sri Yukteswar said, divine power has no limit. In a talk, Master said, I told him, don't tell me about divine power. I don't want to hear anything about it. I was very skeptical about these things. I don't think he was very skeptical about these things. Being one with God many lifetimes ago, you're pretty much unskeptical about these things. But he tells it in that way, partly to allow for people who are skeptical about these things to say, there's room for your skepticism. There's room for questioning, especially if it's done intelligently. How do you know if you're questioning intelligently? It means once you ask the question, you care about the answer. Many people don't. It may sound ridiculous. But one man stood up to ask Swamiji a question in an audience, and he went on and said, Shankaracharya tells us, and Buddha tells us, and then also we have heard in Zoroastrianism this, and he went on and on and on, and Swamiji was asking the person who was helping him repeat the question to him so he could hear it properly, because Swamiji was hard of hearing. He was saying, what is he saying? And the person said, hold on, we're waiting to get to the point. And after a long time, finally the interpreter said, and sir, what is your question? He said, my question is, have you seen the God? And Swamiji said, no, I haven't seen God. And then he added, but I must say I see him in you. It was very sweet. And so, what do we get out of non-attachment? If you think about it, attachment gives rise to most of the unpleasant feelings that we have. Fear, for example, is a fundamental problem for some people. Not everybody, but some people. And so fear is attachment to what we have, fearing we might lose it. Or attachment to the way things are, fearing they might be disturbed in the future. And so anger is another unpleasant experience, and anger is when we are attached to what we wanted and we didn't get it. Fear, as it says in Autobiography of a Yogi, Sri Yukteswarji in fact says it, anger appears in the heart when one's desires are thwarted, are blocked. And this is a perfect test for non-attachment, because non-attachment brings increasing freedom, it brings increasing joy. So, this is a good way to test also false non-attachment, because there is a such thing. People can read on the spiritual path, I should be non-attached, and say, yes, yes, very good, I am non-attached. But you see, the ego can trick us. It first tries to bind us by being attached. And then when that doesn't work, it says, I am non-attached. But in an egoic way, in a fake way. So how do you know that it's fake? One is that if you say, I am non-attached because I am not bothered. I am very calm. I do not feel joy at gain. I do not feel sadness at loss. In fact, I do not feel anything. That is not non-attachment. And you see it so much. And people, oh, look, you are becoming emotional. And it's a false application of the teaching. When you feel nothing, then you are just pretending. Remember, as Swamiji said, numbness is not absence of feeling. Emotional numbness, I feel nothing, is not the absence of feeling. It is suppressed feeling. It is blocked feeling. You cannot feel nothing. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you have to check the grammar on those. You cannot feel nothing unless you're dead. And if you're dead, then we're not having this conversation. So, if you are suppressing, if you are stuffing it, then you may not feel anything because you have locked this door of your heart shut. And it's very convenient, especially if you felt pain. Now I don't have to feel the pain. The problem is you don't feel any joy either. And so if you are feeling numb, remember, you have to ask, how can I open this door of my heart? You can chant. That's one thing, one easy way to do it. You can ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What pain am I retreating from that I don't want to feel? That's how I got here in the first place. And so it's very good to have that flow going. Now you might say, yes, but if I open my heart, then I might feel pain again. And it's true. And Swamiji said, feeling pain is the price for feeling joy. You see, if you want more joy in your life, you have to take the risk and accept the certainty that you will also feel pain. And that's okay. He said it's much better to live that way than to just be a walking dead person, numb to everything. If for no other reason, then that's exactly where you'll be when you die. Again, it's like entering third standard and then going, oops, I don't like this, and then remaining in third standard for the rest of your life. Can you imagine? 75 years old and someone is saying, Narayanan, sir, please spell for me cat, D-O-G. You know, just refusing to grow. Come on. If you're going through all these things and getting viral fevers and then getting cured and then getting married and then having a new job and a different job and publishing your profile on LinkedIn, you might as well get free in God while you're at it. Otherwise, one more time, one more time, one more time. And it's been long enough already. So, non-attachment buys us this freedom. But how do we make it more concrete? Swamiji writes in his Akash lessons. These are ancient keys to attaining success and happiness. There are 6 lessons. Imagine another finger here. I'm using it at the moment. There are 6 lessons. And in that, one of them, lesson 3, he devotes to the subject of non-attachment. And here are some tips that he gives. Attachment can be also to abstractions, meaning not only to physical objects, but to abstractions. People are often attached, for example, to praise. When people praise you then, don't insult their taste by telling them they are wrong, but find some way of deflecting their meaning elsewhere. For example, if people praise me for a lecture I've given, I never say, oh, I didn't think it was all that good. That would be impugning, which means insulting, their good taste. Rather, I say, God is the doer. That, in fact, is how I always feel. And so we can stop at that point and say, yes, okay, very good. That's how I will try to feel. God is the doer, and that's how I will practice non-attachment, because I'm supposed to practice non-attachment. I'm following the rules. But there's more. Swamiji adds, because of this practice, consequently, my talks contain more inspiration. You see, you get something out of the bargain. By being detached, you are more open to the flow of inspiration. If you've had this experience in talking with others, you may have come ready to speak on a certain subject. You may have prepared notes and everything. And you may find in delivering those notes just as you prepared, or having rehearsed your side of the argument that is going to win, and charging ahead, that at the end of it you have an uncomfortable feeling. That somehow, though it made sense in your head when you were sitting alone in the closet, when you came out into the open air and actually were in front of the person or the group of people, that it didn't actually fit the moment. And it may not have been that you said anything wrong, but it may have been better to say it in a different order. Or the person may have been trying to say, yes, but I agree with points 1 through 15 already. Nope, point number 3, listen up. And so, if you don't know what I mean on the giving end, you may have been on the receiving end. So if you've been the one saying, no, I already agree, please. But no, we have to just wait until the storm has passed of talking. So it can be helpful then to, though you come prepared, it's very important to prepare, because then you are poised. But then think of it as laying out all the tools and then waiting in the moment to see which one you need. These are gentle, friendly tools, not torture tools or something like that in an argument. But to listen, because that's the one thing you can't do in the closet. Actually, you can, kind of. If you meditate in advance, put your mind on the other person, you may be able to tune in to what they're trying to say, or God may tell you. So you can actually do it in advance. If you don't hear anything or you don't have a sense for it, you can also do what Haridasji calls pre-prayer. You can, instead of a pre-payment plan, you can do a pre-prayer plan. You can pray in advance for the situation that's about to happen. And that can be helpful too. Now, another tip Swamiji gives. In any project you undertake, imagine failing in it. If that visualization doesn't affect your peace of mind, then you may be more sure of both your own non-attachment and your likelihood to succeed in the project. You see? Whereas at first it can seem, well, if I am doing the project and I imagine failing and I am at peace with it, then it means that I don't care about the project. And it doesn't. What it means is you are seeing things in their proper proportion. The project may fail, but I will still live. Maybe I will learn something from that failure and then go on to a new project and do it rightly. How many times, even in the story of a successful business, an entrepreneur who created a whole new wonderful thing, that when they come to tell the story of how they got so brilliant, the first thing they tell you is all the mistakes they made first. The 5 failed companies that happened before this one. You see, that's one of the challenges people have, is that when they fail once, then they give up. For no other reason, don't give up, if for no other reason, because first you've learned something. Very few people say, today I will fail on purpose. No, they think they're doing the right thing and then they find out it didn't work. So you learned what you didn't see in advance. And the other is you cleared out some karma. That's the other wonderful thing that failure setbacks bring us, is they clear out karma that lays the way for future success. Sometimes that's the only way the karma can be cleared. And very often, after a devastating setback, you will then see a great success. If you haven't had that in your life, well, you could be a little more adventurous. I know that for myself, I hadn't had any particular setbacks until I did, and I had a big one. And that really taught me a lot, and I'm very grateful for it. Partly because it was something I was afraid of happening, and it did happen, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I had feared. I noticed my heart was still beating, my stomach was still digesting food whenever I could get any. No, I'm kidding. I ate regularly, perhaps obviously. And In fact, I felt a lot of freedom, especially after I healed. The healing took some time. I don't mean that as I was burned in the fire, I was saying, oh, excellent, I love this smell of sizzling flesh. No, I wasn't quite that advanced. But later, I became very grateful for it. And Swamiji pointed out that in his own life, after many setbacks, after the setbacks that he had, he always had a great success after. And so he said sometimes it's just clearing out of karma. And we should feel, and do feel often, lighter as a result. Okay, I wanted to share also, because Swamiji talks about at the end of this, he says, because what gives us the power to be detached? By saying, my place is high in the sky, soaring over seas and continents on breezes of pure bliss. Now, how do we experience that bliss? Obviously through meditation. But bliss is also is linked closely with contentment. The more bliss you have, the more joy you have, the more you find yourself contented. Now, what does this mean, or how can I make it less abstract? Well, very simple. Think about it regarding food. Once you've had 15 idlis, you are contented. And then someone says, idli, huh? Or dosa, and you say, it's okay. No, thank you. I'm full. I am contented. I'm satisfied. I am no longer hungry. I'm not saying, get your hands off that one, that's mine. No. I'm relaxed because I have eaten to my fill. And so that's easy to experience with food. And then you see how even someone can parade a whole family dosa in front of you and you just say, give it to them. I'm not interested. And so that's how, when you have enough joy in the same way in your heart, then someone says, would you like this thing? Would you like that thing? Or in your mind it attracts you and you say, I'm happy. Now then you may pursue those things, but it won't be as a beggar. It won't be saying, I want to do this project because I need to get this from it. You'll say, I own nothing, I am free. I need nothing, I am free. I need no one I am free. In myself, I am free. Because I feel that joy. I am happy already. So what more do I need? You might be able to sense a contradiction in this, which is, well, but then why would we strive to grow spiritually? Because we can just say, I am happy enough. And so it's true. That is actually not contentment, though. That is complacency, or laziness, or fake contentedness. In fact, I said there are two ways to fake contentedness. One is to say, I feel nothing, and so we talked about that. And the other is to say, no, I've learned you can't say I feel nothing, so I feel something. I do. In fact, I don't think I have any desires. I look at cars, fine, as one of my uncles said to me, even if you gave me a ticket to the U.S., I would not go. I am contented. Actually, to be fair to him, he didn't say that. He said, I'm not interested. And in fact, it was sweet because he was a man of very fiery temper. And anyway, a bit of an irritable person. But in a moment of openness, he said to me, I don't want to go to the U.S. What I want is peace. And that's the thing I don't have. And I was very touched by that. I think it was among the last conversations we had. So anyway, the other way is to say, I have no desires. And so when you find yourself feeling that way, I checked the mirror, I was smiling, but I also have no desires. Then notice if you ever get upset. If you ever get angry, if you ever find yourself going, or inside, keep it together, because anger is a blocked desire. So if you can feel anger, and I'm saying this from personal experience, then you can figure out where the hidden desires are. I was angry once, and I was thinking, this is not from a desire. It is basic. I would like that person to not speak in such a harsh manner. That is just decency. That is the way human beings should behave. It's the law. It's not a desire. And then I had to conclude, in fact, it is a desire. I am desiring that they not behave that way. Or I am wanting them to behave in this way. I'm still wanting. I'm still desiring. It's completely a wish on my part. And in that way, I have given some of my freedom to them, saying, I am dependent on your behavior. That's no way to live. Okay, I want to give you one or two suggestions from Swamiji on how to build contentment. He says, it has been my lot in life to have my lot in life to have to be extremely active. Your path in this life is one of intense activity and meditation. These were Yoganandaji's words to Swamiji. I have made it a basic rule never to do anything beyond my ability to keep my inner peace. I would prefer to sacrifice even an important task to losing that peace. Another tip, if someone insults me, I never allow myself to take his remarks personally. I see his words as applying to a situation, not to me. Often, I've thanked him for his comments, though I will not do so if my thanks might sound sarcastic. I've thanked him for his opinions. Even if I've disagreed with him, I could always be grateful for the opportunity to affirm the inner freedom that comes with humility. Whenever your emotions become disturbed, this is another one, pay attention first to the emotions themselves, not to the situation or circumstances that agitated them. Often an outer situation cannot be changed, but you can always change your reaction to it. And finally, try not to be affected by other people's emotions. The way not to be affected is to send out positive feelings. It is not to affect indifference. You see, not to pretend to be indifferent. Behave however you want. I am not bothered. Even if you really are. That's not the way to do it. To be positive, to be kind, to offer them something, or if nothing else, to pray for them. Or as Swamiji said at another time, when someone was actually shouting at him, this was a result of a minor car accident, he just let the man shout, and the more he shouted, Swamiji felt that he could have tensed up because this man was shouting and Swamiji couldn't say anything. His concern was whether the man was unharmed. But then he just consciously, physically relaxed and mentally relaxed and emotionally relaxed and allowed the man to get it out of his system. And then once he did, he said, I'm so sorry, I'm glad you're safe. Here's my car insurance information or whatever it is. And the man said, oh, okay, no problem. Don't even worry about it. And he had calmed down. Sometimes people, when they are almost injured, like in a car accident, their response is anger and threatening the person just because they're not able to say, I got really scared. And so instead they just try to hit or shout. So anyway, thank you for joining us tonight, and God bless you.